The Gupta dynasty began in the early 4th century and prevailed until the late 6th century CE. The three influential leaders in the Gupta era were Chandragupta, Samudragupta, and Chandragupta II. Under the initial rule of Chandragupta, the empire controlled only a small portion of northeast India, but later, Samudragupta and Chandragupta II extended the reach of the empire to all of northern India and most of eastern India. The artistic period associated with the Gupta dynasty is regarded as the classical age of Indian art, literature, science, and politics. This was a fantastic period for Buddhist art in particular, with many ideas and styles that would influence Buddhist art everywhere. Outside of brief transition periods before and after the Gupta period, the Gupta style was very separate from all earlier and later styles of Indian art. The sculpture of this period is characterized by softly modeled body forms that emanate serenity from their gently sculpted features. Gupta artists paid special attention to detail, while still giving an overall sense of simplicity and beauty. It is this balance that makes Gupta art so special. Representations of the Buddha did not begin in the Gupta age. In fact, the first representation of the Buddha came in the 1st century CE during the Shunga dynasty. It was during this time that 4 gates were built around the stupa at Sanchi that were carved with various fertility deities and moments from the past life of the Buddha. These representations of him are not yet physical, since the Buddha himself had stated that he did not want to be physically represented. To get around this, artists of the time chose to represent the Buddha instead with footprints, stupas, a Bodhi tree, or one of many other symbols. For those familiar with the various stories of the Buddha and the teachings of the sutras, these symbols were easily recognized to be the great Siddhartha. The oldest discovered human representations of the Buddha are found in the caves at Ajanta. Inside the caves, there are numerous paintings and sculptures carved into the walls. These sculptures were made by cave artisans rather than sculptors, and the money for these images came from outside donors that had their own personal taste or agenda. Images of the Buddha began to appear on coins and statues more commonly in the 1st century CE. Once the precedent had been set for depicting the Buddha, many different styles and conventions evolved. In Gandhara, there was a large Greek influence, and therefore the Buddhas made there are very Hellenistic in appearance. The body of a Gandharan Buddha is big and muscular, like that of the Greek god Apollo. The hair is stylized and wavy, and the draping he wears over his body is highly detailed, wavy, and thick. The lips are thin, and the face is stern. The nose is sharp and defined, and the eyes are long. In comparison, the Matura Buddha is more Indian in appearance. He has longer earlobes, thicker lips, wider eyes, and a prominent nose. The hair is either beaded or shelled. The drapery is much thinner, and the folds and ridges are done much more subtly. The body is less muscular and has a softer look than the Gandharan Buddha. There are 2 schools of Gupta art, the Matura school and the Sarnath school. The Matura school began in the early Gupta period, and therefore had influences from the Kushana-Gupta transition period. The stone that is usually used in Maturan sculptures is a spotted red stone. Matura Buddha sculptures are distinguished by the naturalistic stance of the body. The pose is relaxed, the drapery is transparent, revealing the form of the body, but there are also folds shown in the drapery. The Kushana influence gives the Maturan figures a little bit of a thicker look than those from Sarnath. This Maturan Buddha sculpture is made from the traditional red sandstone. Parts of the statue have been broken off during years of idleness, but enough remains to properly analyze the statue. The Maturan style of making the halo is much less elaborate and detailed than the Sarnath style, although the halo is the most detailed part of this statue. The makeup of the body is thick, and while still giving a feeling of overall smoothness, there is an added element of fleshiness. Sarnath is the second of the 2 schools, and in antiquity the city was very famous and also a center of Buddhist thought and pilgrimage. In the late 5th century, a new artistic style developed at Sarnath and in northeastern India. This style is more developed and refined than the Maturan style was. The stone that was most commonly used in Sarnath sculptures is a pale buff color sandstone. In the Sarnath school, the Kushana Matura influence of early Gupta art is stopped entirely. Aspects unique to the Sarnath style are lowered shoulder position, a flexible body, bent positioning on legs, rhythm, and a naturalism that is very pure. The drapery is also different. Instead of the ridged folds in the drapery, it is instead portrayed very smoothly. It too is transparent like the Matura drapery, but the Sarnath drapery appears to be seemingly not even there at all. This seated Buddha depicts the scene of Siddhartha giving his first sermon as the Buddha to the ascetics in the city of Sarnath. This statue is widely accepted as the pinnacle of Gupta artistic excellence. Every ideal that was held during that time period is somehow expressed through this gentle statue. The halo is beautifully decorated in a way that is aesthetically pleasing to the eye, but is not overdone. This Buddha exhibits all the characteristics expected from a Buddha statue. He has the 8-spoked wheel under his feet, the elongated earlobes, the halo, and the knowledge bump protruding from his head. His drapery is transparent and almost appears not to be there. The body is slender and proportioned in a way that is neither too thin or too fat. One of the most awe-inspiring aspects of the statue is the tranquility of the face. It is a very smooth, soft face. The eyes are slightly closed, looking down at his fingers. His expression is very calm, but with the slightest hint of a smile. This restrained happiness and gentle calm is very powerful to behold. The Gupta period was a very special time in many ways. The artistic progress that was made is a direct result of their view of life. The Gupta view was one that interwove spirituality with beauty of form. Not only was the art itself important, but the way it was made had to be beautiful too. The artist of the time was highly skilled and able to restrain the art into its purest form. Giving the impression of serenity and wisdom was the highest goal of the Gupta artist. Beauty did not exist without wisdom. Wisdom could not exist without beauty. Indian art was never the same after the Gupta period. It was too hard to reproduce the ethereal, timeless works of art that came from it. Gupta art is special because even though it is the definition of classical art in India, the spirit of it is something that cannot be rightly put into words. It is something one can only understand by viewing the serene, peaceful forms for themselves.